Welcome to episode 29 of The Player and the Journalist with Karson Harris and David Vick. In this episode, we will discuss our lacrosse origin stories. We wanted to do this to give people a chance to get to know us more as, our podcast continues to grow, which we are very thankful for. And also, someone left another review for us on Spotify. We're up to five-star reviews on Spotify. So whoever that mystery individual is, thank you very much. And again, Karson and I encourage you to leave reviews if they are good. But no, seriously, you can contact us with any feedback at any time. So, Karson, how are we doing on this Sunday?
We're good. I'm excited to talk about my lacrosse story. It's weird when you get out into the real world, no one really cares anymore. So I'm excited to get a little chance to reminisce down memory lane today.
Well, I care, Karson. Okay, I always care. I'm always here to talk lacrosse with anybody. Okay. So obviously, Karson played at Drexel. I didn't play at Mercer. I just went to Mercer. But we will get into the colleges. We're going to start with how we each got into lacrosse. So I know we've heard a little bit about Karson's soccer dad. Shout out Donald before. Can you go into more detail of how you got into lacrosse?
Yeah, I think I've told this story before, so I'll tell it kind of briefly. But I was a horseback. I rode horses growing up.
Really?
Before my that. Before I started playing lacrosse, like I was young, probably like first to fourth grade. And it was really expensive. And my dad was like, this is not what we're going to do for the rest of our life. Like, we are not going to be a horseback girl. So he was talking with his like work buddies and he was like, I think that you could be good at lacrosse. He'd tried soccer. Like, I'd picked flowers. I wasn't good at it. So he like found lacrosse. He brought home, we went out to Dick's that day. We bought a lacrosse stick, like goggles, mouth guard, whole thing before I'd even picked up a stick. And he was like, this is what we're doing. And we stood in the backyard for like all day on a Saturday and like learned how to play lacrosse. And they signed me up for rec like that month and I started playing and I still rode horses for a while. And then it got to the point where it was like, once I was playing club lacrosse, it was like, we can't do both of these things. So I chose lacrosse and then that's how that's how I got into it. I ended up going back to soccer for a little bit too. So that was fun, but it was just it was a pretty natural thing for me from a very early age. So it was fun. Like, I was really competitive. So if I wasn't good at it, I wasn't going to do it. So it was nice. It was good that I was decent at it, even in like third grade.
So you started in third grade?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Third grade. I was rec in third grade. And then I joined the club, like the local club team in fifth grade.
That's a lot of lacrosse. You played a lot growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you went back to soccer, did you do lacrosse and soccer? Or did you take a break from lacrosse?
No, I played soccer and lacrosse. I was on the club. I was on a club soccer team too because I also was swimming, and I made a deal with my friend that if she swam with me for a year, I'd play soccer with her for a year. So she swam with me for a year, and then I played soccer, and then we both quit swimming, and I went to soccer.
Okay.
So I played soccer and lacrosse. I was on the club team all through. I think I quit my club soccer team like halfway through high school. But I played.
Okay, we don't have to use the word quit. We'll just say we stepped away.
Yeah, because we ran out of time. We'll say that.
Awesome.
Ran out of time because soccer gets pretty intense as you get older, like for like year round kind of things. So I couldn't do it all.
So when you said that you rode horses from first to third grade, it made me think my second grade girlfriend who broke up with me in second grade, she also rode horses. So that just made me think of that for some reason. So
I love riding horses.
Yeah, horses are great. My stepsister, she's a junior in high school, and she rides horses. And so I've gone. I think I met her old horse once, and just to be like standing next to a horse is pretty crazy because they're such big creatures, And it's like we see them all the time. Like, we drive past them, we see them on TV for like the horse races. But just for me, like, I had never been next to a horse before, and they're such majestic creatures. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome because they really could kill you at any moment, but they just don't.
I mean, why would you want to kill a human? We're just, why would you want to do such a thing? So you grew up in Maryland, correct?
Yes.
And what did you always play midi, or did you do any goalie, any defense, any attack?
No, I played goalie one time in a rec tournament when I was in like 7th grade, and I saved it because I got hit in the head. It rolled out of the crease. I got hit in the head again. They picked it up, shot again, hit in the head 3 times in a row, and then on the 4th shot they scored. That was my first and only goalie experience.
You said, "Coach, you got to get me out of here."
Yeah, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. But I did know I played midfield my whole life. My freshman year of high school, they put me at attack for the first couple games because like I was a freshman and I was on like varsity, so it was just like not. They were like, you should play attack, you shouldn't play midfield, and I was horrible. I was horrendous. Like I just don't have the attention span for attack. Like you lose me halfway through the game if I am not constantly involved. Like I forget that I'm on the field. Like I can't do it. So I played 3 games at attack and then it was quickly transferred back to midfield because they were like, wait, you're actually horrible when you do this. So I was midfield my whole life.
What club teams did you play for?
I played for the Jets, which was a local Southern Maryland club team, which was awesome because it was like all my friends from my hometown were on that team. And then
Benny and the Jets.
Yeah.
Betty and the Jets. That's like the inspiration for your dog's Instagram, right?
Well, no, the song is the inspiration for Betty's Instagram, but yes, I also played for the Jets, so
okay.
we can relate it if you want. Which was awesome. And then once I realized that I was like actually that I wanted to go D1, I transferred to Maryland United in 8th grade to play for them, which was like an hour and a half commute every Tuesday, Thursday there, and then an hour and a half back. Yeah, it was brutal, but it was worth it because I ended up at Drexel. So
nice. Yeah. Did any of your club teammates go on to play college lacrosse as well?
Oh, you mean for the Jets or Maryland United?
Maryland United.
Oh yeah, all of them. I think.
What's the most famous one?
Well, Sarah Elms from Jacksonville. She was on my team. She was really good at Jacksonville. Cassidy Bresnahan and Eddie Shoup went to Florida, and they were both. Cassidy started for them, I think. They were pretty good.
Any goalies?
Oh, Zoe. Duh. Zoe was on my club team from Drexel.
Oh, Zoe Bennett?
Yeah.
Wow, your old teammate. You couldn't even remember her.
I just forget because like I forget like I associate her with Drexel. I always forget she was on my club team too. Those are probably, I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but yeah, it was fun.
Nice. So my story is actually, before I go into mine, I'm curious, since you and your brother both played sports growing up, did your parents play sports as well? Is that how y'all got into sports, or?
We joke all the time because like for the fact that both my like brother and I play collegiate sports, like my parents were not like these super like they were athletic people, but not to the level of like you'd think that they would produce to like collegiate athletes. My dad played soccer in high school, and then he played like club rugby. He went to West Virginia, so it was just like, I'll do this for fun while I drink beer. And then and then
oh my gosh.
And then my mom, I think she danced for a while, so she did that, but not like competitively.
Okay, interesting. Nice. So that's Karson's great story. Mine not as interesting.
Yours.
So, growing up so I was born in North Carolina, but I lived there for 2 years. So I lived basically my whole life in Georgia, and lacrosse is definitely bigger in Georgia now. But when I was coming up, I think I started playing in 8th grade, and it was not very big at all. And especially since I went to a school in Atlanta, that was like not a thing. So like fortunately the high school I went to had a club team. So I started playing for my high school club team. And when I say club, it wasn't like travel or anything. It was like literally just a club at the high school. And so so I started playing that for them in 8th grade, I think. And that was fun. Of course I sucked. I got a text from my mom one day at school. She's like, "You're going to lacrosse practice tonight." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And of course, I started getting like super nervous. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like freaking out, like getting very anxious. And luckily it got canceled that day because it was like raining or storming or something. So I got
Okay.
out of it that day. So then I had some more time to mentally prepare because like I had never played lacrosse before. I'd never heard of it. And she just texted me, "You're going to lacrosse practice." I'm like, what the flip are you talking about? So that was fun. So we did that until I think my sophomore year of high school. My high school we actually got an actual high school team.
Nice.
Um, and so, the reason I got into it in the first place is because my dad is from New York, and it's obviously super big up there. So he played growing up. He went to 3 straight high school championships. And maybe I forget the name, because he played teams like Exeter and like all these like really popular, like famous prep schools and stuff.
Oh,
Because it
cool.
wasn't too, or maybe so he's from New York. Maybe he was playing in New Hampshire at the time, but I can't remember exactly. But they would like travel around and play all these like really good teams. And so he went to 3 straight high school championships and did not win a single one, which is a little
Ah,
heartbreaking.
I know that
Um,
feeling.
so so I got into it because my dad was like really into it and like really good. He actually he didn't end up he went to Nazareth and played for a little bit. Um, he told me he went on a recruiting trip to Princeton, but he was definitely not smart enough to get into Princeton. Um, so yeah, that's how I got into it. And so I played through high school, and then I was a little burnt out. I played some club as well, um, and I was just kind of burnt out. My dad's not gonna listen to this, but even if he did, it doesn't matter. He made me play club when I was in high school. I think my sophomore, junior, and senior years. Could be off on that. Maybe it was just junior, senior, but I was kind of burnt out, and I was going through like some personal things, and so I definitely wasn't good enough to go D1. I probably could have gone D2 or D3. Um, but so, anyways, after high school, I was like, I'm done with this, and so I went to college. Didn't think about lacrosse at all until I went my freshman year. So I started off at the University of West Georgia, a small school. And my freshman year, I got a job at a ski resort in California for my winter break. So I was out there for like a week and a half. And when I was out there, I was like, I want to do sports commentating. And so I got back. I reached out to the local high school. I did their boys lacrosse for a season. And then the next season, I did boys lacrosse and girls lacrosse. And then the next season, I did softball in the fall, and then I did girls lacrosse and boys lacrosse. And so at that point, I was like it was my whole world was like being a sports commentator, and I like practiced all the time, and like it was in my mind, I'm gonna be the best in the world, you know. So I did that, and then so my junior year of college, I was like, I got to get to a women's lacrosse D1 school. So I applied to Mercer, Stony Brook, UNC, Boston College. I think those were the 4 I applied to, and I went and visited UNC, Stony Brook, and then Mercer was in Georgia, so that wasn't hard to visit. And I was like, I've got to be at a D1 school. And I was messaging. This is kind of crazy, but I'm a little crazy when it comes to putting myself out there, minus with women. Not that that matters for the podcast, but so I reached out to all sorts of coaches and athletic departments. I was like, hey, I want to like commentate, and like, a lot of them responded. Like I was reaching out like Harvard, like all sorts of different schools, and a lot of them responded, and some of them were like, yeah, we would love to have you, but you have to be a student here. And then some of them were like, we already have someone in that position right now covering women's lacrosse, um, and so it wasn't a fit for some of them. But the reason, so I went towards Stony Brook. I don't think I had messaged their athletic department yet, but I went toward. I was like, this is not really for me. I'm not really a Northeastern person, you know. Um, didn't get into Boston College, even though that is in the Northeast. But if I would have gotten into Boston College, I would have gone because Boston. I'll get into that later. I did not get into UNC, and so that left Mercer. And Mercer's head coach, who's still there, Samantha Eustace, she responded to one of my emails, and she was like, "Yeah, we would love that. We would love to have you." And she was like, "Can you come meet me? Like, come on campus one day and like have a meeting with me." So I went to her office, super scared, super nervous. And so I met her, and I ended up going to Mercer. And so yeah, that was that. And then I did, and this is kind of the crazy part. So I went to Mercer my junior year. So I went to Mercer my junior year, and I was going to most of their practices and stuff, and like I would stop by her office, and like I just like really felt a part of the team. It's a very cool experience. Um, and so, but that was the year COVID hit. So I transferred to Mercer, took out all these student loans to commentate on their women's lacrosse game, and like not even halfway through the season, like it gets canceled.
Oh shoot.
So then I'm there, and I'm like, at that point, I was living in an apartment, technically off campus, but it was basically on campus. And I was actually living in the apartment where most of the women's lacrosse players lived. I did not know that when I moved in. So I would like see them in the parking garage and stuff. I was like, this is so cool. Um, so I was living there, and so when COVID happened, like we went to online classes, and I was just in my apartment all the time. And then I just got to thinking about life and stuff, and then crazy enough, I was like, I don't want to commentate anymore. And so I went to Mercer, took out thousands of dollars of student loans just to commentate, and I did it for half a season. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So I was already a journalism major. Actually, am I going off? Okay, I think I'm like jumping way ahead here. So I just get carried on with the story.
I was just gonna let you go, and then I was like, "Oh, that's the next section. It's fine."
My bad. I will pause there, and I'll pick up there later. So anyway, so I played lacrosse in high school. I played attack and midi, because my team wasn't very good. So I did both, which it was nice because I would get tired at midi, and then I would just go to attack for a run, and then I would go back to midi. So that was nice. And I'm from Georgia, so lacrosse is bigger in Georgia now. I know Milton High School produces a good amount of D1 players. One is actually, I think BC's freshman class this year has a player from Milton, I want to say. Boston College, that is. So yeah, so it's growing in Georgia. So I get carried away. I just love talking about lacrosse. And I feel like my story is kind of like random, so I just get going. So anyways, that's how we each got into lacrosse. Now for our lacrosse inspirations. Who are your lacrosse inspirations, Karson?
Yeah, this is tough for me because like I didn't watch lacrosse until I was a senior in college.
What?
So
What the heck?
I didn't really have any. I was very much in my own world. Very much just playing the best I could at all times, and I
So no coaches, no like teammates, nothing.
I mean, I guess like my team, like my own teammates, like I never had anybody that I watched and was like, wow, I want to be like them, because I literally didn't
Okay.
watch it until like probably my like late junior year, early senior year of college. But I do think I think I picked a lot of things up from people as I went. Like I don't know if I had anybody who was like this like one inspiration for me, but because I got an opportunity to play with so many different people, like between Jets and Maryland United and all of that, that I think I just like picked pieces from people that I really like admired the way they played. Like I had a friend, the one that I started her, she started playing in 4th grade. Like we're still best friends to this day. She was just like gritty at all times, was like she was an attacker, like she wrote her heart out. Like her mom was one of those people that was like, you're not stopping, like you're not done running until the ball's across the line. Like, and so like I just like I think I picked that from her. And like we had like my Jets experience in general was just gritty, so I think that was it. But especially Lilia, like I think she helped me a lot. And then I did have a teammate named Eddie Shoup, who I mentioned, who went to Florida. And I did really like love the way that she played. She was like just a very all around midi, like she was just a cool person and like a cool lacrosse player. Like she was just fun to watch and be on a team with. So she just like was one of those people that just never stopped running either, and was very two-way midi and always giving 100. So I think like I don't have anybody I looked up to in terms of like being older than me and in college. But I definitely picked like pieces from people as I went. And I guess if I'm going to give it to anybody, my high school coach was like the coolest person I've ever met probably in my entire life. Like you hear like horror stories of high school coaches like ruining the sport for people, and like they don't want to go play lacrosse in college anymore because like they had such a horrible high school experience. And my coach Mac was like he was just so cool, and he'd always say ground balls draw controls, and quality possessions. That's how you win games. And like it stuck with me like this whole time, all 5 years of college. Like that's what I would say in my head whenever like things got too overwhelming. He's now down in Florida, like starting over, and he retired there and is now like coaching this other Florida team up to be like amazing. So
Okay.
I think he like is probably my biggest, like when I think about lacrosse and like why I was doing what I was doing, like he's a big part of that. But then like, yeah, everyone I play with, all my teammates along the way gave me some sort of piece of my game that I took from them because I liked it better. So
Nice. What about I'm not sure how it was when you were coming up. Did you go to a lot of like recruiting camps and stuff like Drexel's camp or anything like that?
yeah, I mean, starting in like 7th grade, I went to sleepaway camps playing lacrosse. Like UNC was one of my first ones. Maryland was one of my first ones. I think I went to Maryland a couple times. And then as like my 8th grade, because they were allowed to talk to us so early,
Yeah.
that I think around 8th or 9th grade, I started going to like the ID camps instead of like the sleepaway camps. Yeah, I did those, but I never really like, I was very much in my own world. Like I would like show up and be like, oh cool, like you guys are on the team. Like I was at UNC, probably like learning from UNC players. Like, oh yeah, doing like the Harlem like dance. Like, oh what's that? Like I was just there, like vibing. I had no like starstruck about me.
That's funny. You're like, yeah, I'm just learning from Molly Hendrick. I don't care though. This is just
Like
another
Marie
player.
McCool was probably there. Yeah, and I'm just like, hey guys, I'm Karson. I won the longest goal competition. Like
Meg Dowdy's teaching young Karson how to play defense. She's just tuning her out.
Like I know how to do
it. That's funny. And also the Harlem Shake. That was, I think when I was in 8th grade that was a big thing. So I don't know if like we're the same age or not, but obviously we're like probably like if we aren't, probably like a year difference.
Yeah, I think I was in like 7th grade.
Yeah, the Harlem Shake, that was like a big trend back in the day.
I still have the video somewhere of us in like the UNC dorm elevators and like our UNC pennies, like spiraling my stuffed monkey that like I still have on my bed to this day. We're like throwing the monkey around, and oh my god, it was so funny. Yeah, so that was.
I'm gonna have to request that you send me that video.
I know, I have to find it somewhere.
I want to see little Karson getting lit doing the Harlem Shake.
It was so funny. Oh my god, we made like 7 of them all over the dorm. It was so funny.
That's funny. Awesome. So my lacrosse, I actually have Lacrosse Inspirations. That's
I figured you would. I was like, I'm gonna be like, I don't know, and you're gonna have like 7 people you looked up to.
I have a list. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players.
Yeah, I figured you would.
So I was not familiar with girls lacrosse at all in high school. I think the first girls lacrosse game I ever saw was my junior or senior year, and it was just one of those things where like we get to the high school to play, and there's like a girls game before us, so we're just sitting there watching, and of course like I wasn't super into it, but then you have like a bunch of high school boys. Oh, look at her! Oh man, what a move! Just like super into it, and I'm just like sitting there on my phone, not even caring. So I wasn't really too familiar with girls lacrosse in high school, and then when I went to college, my freshman year is when Boston College played Maryland at Gillette Stadium. When Boston College had that, like I want to say it was 2017. When they had that Cinderella run and they really weren't supposed to be there, but they made it to the national championship. I believe they beat, I want to say they beat Navy in the Final Four. And then they played Maryland in the championship at Gillette Stadium, like kind of coming out of nowhere. Like they had like 5 or 6 losses that year, I want to say, and they made it to the national championship. And the first women's lacrosse game I ever saw was that national championship game, watching BC against Maryland. And obviously Maryland was the better team. They were that was when they were like, Maryland is Maryland,
Yeah.
And that was before Boston College was a lacrosse school. It was like kind of like JMU making their run a number of years ago. And so Boston College made it to the championship. That was when Sam Apuzzo, she was a sophomore coming off a torn ACL as a freshman. So that's when she had the knee brace on. Kenzie Kent was there. Kenzie Kent was a year older, so she was more the focal point of the offense, I want to say, that year. Dempsey Arsenal was there. She wasn't like Dempsey like her junior and senior year Dempsey, but she got some playing time. Um, and so like watching that game and watching BC just scrap to stay in the like they kept it close for a while. Like watching them like fight so hard, and obviously the commentators were like, they're not really supposed to be here, but they are. I was like, I'm a fan, I'm a fan. And from that moment on, I was in love with Boston College women's lacrosse. Like that
Were
was,
you there? Were you at the stadium, or were you watching it on
I was
TV?
watching it on TV. It was one of those things where I was literally just flipping through the channels. It was on the TV, and like obviously I had known lacrosse, but I had never seen ever seen a women's lacrosse game before in my life. So I watched that, and obviously that was different. That was before the shot clock, stuff like that. So it was a very different game than what we have now.
Yeah.
But I watched that and I was like, I love Sam Puzo. I love Boston College. I'm a fan for life. And so then the next year comes around. Um, so well, this is a little backwards. So I'm a fan for life, but I don't think I watched anything during the regular season that next year until the postseason. Um, and I think I watched maybe a few games during the regular season, but it's not like now where I watch every single game of like every team that I can. And so I
Yeah.
watched them in the postseason. Um, They play JMU in the championship again. I want to say I can't remember who they beat in the Final Four to get there. It was either UNC or Maryland. I want to say they beat. This is when it was at Laval Stadium at Stony Brook.
I can't
So they
help you.
play.
I still wasn't watching lacrosse at that point.
Yeah, this is way before Karson's
I just
TV
remember
watching.
like, at least we lost 20-2 from the national champions. That's all I remember that year.
So they played JMU. They lost again. This time I think they lost by 1. And honestly, if there was any championship they should have won, it was probably that one before Charlotte North got there. It was probably the one against JMU. I think they should have won that one, but they lost by 1. Kinsey Kent. Most people don't remember this. So Kinsey Kent that year was not on the team. She was watching from the stands because. Do you know where I'm going with this? How she took a red shirt?
No,
So
I literally don't know anything about anybody. So.
So she played lacrosse and hockey at BC. I'm sure you know that part. Okay. So Kinsey Kent played lacrosse and hockey, 2-sport star, and her senior year, what she would have to do since the lacrosse or the hockey season would like it would stretch into the beginning of lacrosse season, she would always miss the preseason and like come in like a few games late, if I remember correctly. And so what she did her senior year was she just focused on hockey, took a red shirt for lacrosse, and then she came back as a fifth year before fifth years were a thing. And her hockey eligibility was over, but then she played lacrosse, and so she had the full year to focus on lacrosse.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah, so when they played James Madison for the championship in 2018, she was watching from the stands, and if they had her, they would have won. I think they should have won either way. But anyways, no, not hating on James Madison. We love Haley Warden, all those great players. So then in 2019, Kinsey Kent comes back, and they go to the championship again against Maryland at Homewood in Baltimore, and they lose again by 1 or 2. And that was the end of Kinsey Kent, Dempsey Arsenal, Sam Puzo. That was the end of the BC3. Okay. But by that point, I was like full blown, like that season. I did watch a lot, if I remember correctly. And I remember I was watching. That's the year in the Final Four when they beat North Carolina, one of the greatest lacrosse games ever played. Okay, when UNC, I think they were up 6-0 to start. BC comes back, takes the lead, and then Olivia Ferrucci. That's when she had the look. There was a breakdown Boston College defensively. Olivia Ferrucci, I think it was either in the first overtime or towards the end of the fourth quarter, like 20 seconds, something like very little time on the clock. She had a chance to basically win the game for UNC, and Lauren Daly makes the greatest save in the history of lacrosse. No one can tell me otherwise. She actually saved the ball twice. So there was a defensive breakdown. It was off a restart, so the ref blows the whistle. They get going. There was a breakdown defensively for BC. Olivia Ferrucci, wide open. Okay. And it looked like you're like, this game's over. And so Lauren Daly, shout out Lauren Daly. We love Lauren Daly. She makes the save. She actually saved it twice if you watch the slow-mo. It's pretty insane. So then it goes to OT. Gianna Bo puts one off the pipe for UNC. it looked like that was going to be the game. She was just a few inches away. And then BC gets the ball. Sam Puzo, guarded by Emma Trenchard. She wins it. And so greatest lacrosse game ever played. One of the greatest sports games I've ever seen. Okay, and I'm a sports junkie. So as you can tell, I'm just loving going down memory lane here for BC. So long story short, my inspirations are all BC women's lacrosse players, because without them, I would not.
Are the starting 11 for your 11 players that you listed? Are these starting 11 from 2017?
So specifically from 2017 to 2019, the Boston College teams were just super inspiring to me. They got me into the sport. So Elizabeth Miller was an amazing defender. Christina Walsh, a very gritty defender. Her sister, I believe, just graduated from BC. A few Walshes played at Boston College. Okay, they know how to play lacrosse. Taylor Walker, great attacker, the blondest hair I've ever seen in my life. Kara Urbank, as most people know, I love watching Kara Urbank. Like, she was so gritty. Like, she was just amazing. Brooke Troy, another great defender. Hannah Hyatt, another great defender. Lauren Daly, like I said, and then you have a Puzo Kent Arsenal. And also, one last story, just to show that I just do random things. When I was at Mercer my junior year, Sheila Riatano, she was still at BC. She was a midi for them when they went to the championship game that I just discussed when they lost to Maryland. And so, like, I followed a bunch of the BC players on Instagram. And some of them followed me back. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay. So anyway, so she had followed me back. So I sent her I forget who BC had a game that day, and I got this BC sweatshirt, okay, and it was like my newest prized possession, okay. So I sent her a selfie. I was like, "Good luck today," blah blah, and it was basically just me wearing the sweatshirt, like not like a weird selfie, like duck lips or anything, because I don't do that stuff. But anyway, so I sent her, and she responded. She's like, "Thank you so much. Thank you for the support." And I was like, "This is amazing." And she responded.
You're like, "This is the coolest thing ever."
Yeah. So anyway, so Boston College, I could talk about them forever. So that's why we really have to get Acacia Walker-Weinstein on the show at some point, and some BC players. So
that's so interesting that, like, your whole list is defenders basically, and you played attack and midi.
Well, so yeah, so let's see. Elizabeth Miller, Christina Walsh, Brooke Troy, Hannah Hyatt, all defenders. Urbank, Walker, attack, Sheila Riatano, and midi. So I have some variety, and then the one goalie, Lauren Daly.
True.
Also, last thing on this before we move on to the next one, I'm sure Karson is like, please stop talking, David. But I just have to get this last part in. So when BC lost the championship in 2019, their third in a row, and it was basically the end of their whole, like, pretty much all those players I just mentioned, I think all of them but maybe one were gone after that 2019 team. They all graduated. And so I was devastated. I was so devastated. I was so sad. I remember my dad came in the room during the Final Four game. He was like, "Hey, I got to show you something." I like snapped at him. I'm like, "I'm not moving. I have to watch this game." Okay.
They only have 2 games left of their career. Yeah. You don't understand.
And then the championship game, they lost, and I was really deflated, like, just super down. And so I sent Lauren Daly a long message on Instagram, and I was like, just basically saying thank you. I was like, "Thank you. You changed my life. This team was amazing. I'm so thankful for everything you did for lacrosse." And, like, so I sent her this long message, and she responded. She's like, "Thank you so much. This means a lot. I'm going to share this with the team, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, just for her to respond, and like, I didn't send it just for her to respond. I sent her just for her to see it. Because obviously when you're playing lacrosse, like, it's easy to have an impact on, like, high school girls that are playing and middle school girls. But I was just a dude in college living in Georgia. They're up in Boston College. Like, they changed my life. So I sent us a long message. And, like, I just, like, poured my heart into this message, basically. And so I was like, I basically, in summary, just said, "Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for everything you've done for the sport. It's better because of what you and your teammates have done." And so that's how much they impacted my life. And there would be no lacrosse extras if it wasn't for those Boston College teams and players. So I am indebted to Boston College lacrosse. Absolutely love them. So now moving on, how did you end up at Drexel?
Well, so I came from before the whole recruiting thing. They're not allowed to talk to you before your junior year of, like, September 1st. That wasn't a rule when I was being recruited.
Old school rules.
Yeah, and I wasn't, like, very good. Because when I went to
Okay, Karson, let's not lie to the people.
well, I really like it wasn't that I wasn't good. I just was like not very confident in myself. Because when I was at Maryland United, like I was the new girl. Like these girls had all been on the same team for like years and years and years. They all went to like the same high school. They were all from the same area, and like I was like the weird girl from Southern Maryland driving an hour and a half to be at practice. Like I didn't like have the opportunity to like hang out with them outside of practice or do anything like that because I was driving from so far. So it was hard. Like I just wasn't, and I wasn't the kind of person that was like, I'm just gonna go score because like I can. Like I wasn't really like that. So I didn't show very well in tournaments because I was doing things and I was gritty and I would like win draws. Like I would win things on the circle and I was like, I was
You're just a little
decent, but
shy as a player.
yeah, like I was just like not like doing everything that I could do, and I was shy about it because like I wasn't confident in myself, like with my teammates really, and I wasn't a closer. Like I had so many, like I had like Penn State, I had Princeton, I had like Duke, like I had some like pretty big schools like looking at me at the time, around like 8th or 9th grade, and I just couldn't close. Like every time one of those schools would come to watch me play, like I'd fall apart. Like I just couldn't do it. Like we had a Florida tournament that I think it was Penn State, somebody came to, and it was like the ESPN like Wide World Sports tournament that like you go to for club teams, and I just fell apart. Like I played horribly. I couldn't score. Like I couldn't catch. Like I literally couldn't do anything. And so like I got dropped by like a lot of people after that because, but I mean honestly like when I think about it now, like I was in 8th grade. I was probably like 13 years old trying to impress these huge name schools. Like that just wasn't, that's not my personality. Like it's not my personality now. I have a lot more confidence in myself now. But like at 13 years old, I didn't have that confidence and I had these huge names looking at me and I just like
Yeah.
I just didn't handle it well. Like I didn't handle the pressure well. And Drexel, I remember Drexel called me and they were like, we'd love like for you to be here. And I said like, how long can I sit on this offer? Because it was the summer before going into my sophomore year. They sent me an offer and I was like, I'm not ready yet. Like I can't commit to anything yet. Like I have these other schools looking at me, like Penn was looking at me pretty seriously.
All the Philly schools.
Yeah. And so I was looking at like them for a while. And so I was kind of trying to like weigh my options. And then like 6 months later, they were like, you have 6 months. And 6 months later came around and I was just like, I am not willing to like wait for any more of these schools. Like, I don't think this, so I just like wasn't as, I really like blossomed in college and I give a lot of credit to Drexel for that. Like, I don't think that was a me thing. I think that was like my environment and where I was. And Jill had a huge part of that, kind of like nurturing me into that moment. But so I ended up at Drexel basically because like it was my only offer at that point, and I was a sophomore and terrified to say no and turn down that offer and not get any more. And so yeah, so that's how I ended up there. And I mean, now like looking back on it, obviously I'm so happy that I did, and I think I grew a lot as a player and a person there. So I'm very happy I was there. But basically I ended up there because I was just like a shy player and didn't know how to like. I didn't know what schools wanted or like what I should do. You know.
Well, I mean, it's definitely better now with how the recruiting is because I can't imagine having like 8th or 9th grade and making a decision that's not going to impact your life until 4 years out. Like that's
Yeah.
just like that's crazy. Like, and plus, I don't. I mean, props to the coaches who did a good job recruiting back then and like finding a player in 8th grade who they panned out because I mean, a lot can happen in 4 years. They could
Yeah.
lose their love for the game. They might not be as focused. They could get injured. They might not
Yeah.
develop as I mean, there are players in 8th and 9th grade that aren't the best on their teams, and then their senior year they're the best player in their state. So I mean, people
Yeah.
develop at different rates, and like
Yeah, I mean, kind of like yeah, like I was 13 years old trying to figure out where I wanted to be when I was 18. Like that's
yeah,
ridiculous. The difference in growth there is insane. And then also like yeah, player wise too. Like I got so much more confident in high school. Like that didn't though none of the coaches recruiting me ever got to see that confidence. And like
yeah,
Drexel saw it. Like somehow they told me a million times before. Like Drexel was like, we were absolutely sure like you were gonna be like Hannah told me when I got there like we knew you could like we knew that you were going to be like this, and I remember being like I have no clue how, but I'm very thankful that like you
yeah,
did see it. So yeah, it's interesting. That was an interesting time for sure
yeah,
for lacrosse. I'm glad they changed the rule.
for sure. So were there any? So you mentioned Penn, Princeton, Duke. Were there any other schools you were seriously considering before
Richmond.
Drexel? Richmond. Okay.
I almost went to Richmond. I was really close. Um, I remember I had a camp at Drexel and Penn. I like really wanted to go to Penn, but they told me my SAT wasn't high enough, which is crazy. Also, like my SAT is like decent so whatever. But I wasn't high enough for like how good I was. Like I needed to be for how bad I was. Like I wasn't good enough for them to balance. I needed to have a higher SAT score for them to balance out their SAT scores of their other players that were coming in that had higher skill levels than me. That makes sense. So I wasn't. But looking back on it, like Richmond also would have been cool. I looked at them for a while. A lot of their buildings were brick. I was kind of trying to avoid like the all brick building thing.
Why is that?
I don't know. I wanted something like modern, and that's kind of why I like Drexel, because it was such like a cool, like the buildings were all designed, like the architecture there was really cool.
Okay.
But
you could have played for Allison Kolek.
I know. Yeah, but I really liked Richmond. I liked the school. I thought that I did see that program was like kind of up and coming. I appreciated that. So I did like Richmond, but I'm trying to think of who else. I think that's probably it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, yeah, go ahead. I feel like we heard a lot of your story of how you ended up at Mercer.
I was going to say, I don't really have anything else to say. I think I jumped way ahead on that. So, I went to Mercer.
I did have a question though. Why did you choose women's lacrosse over men's lacrosse since you had experience in it?
A few reasons. I think like the men's lacrosse and like the boys lacrosse scene growing up, it was, at least when I was growing up, I'm not sure how it is now because I'm a number of years removed, but it was very preppy. Like just the scene, and like it was just not my crowd of people, like I would not would not choose to hang out with them ever, so, and it wasn't really my crowd. And then I think so when I was doing the commentating at the high school for the boys and girls lacrosse, like I enjoyed both equally the same. Like they were both a lot of fun. I mean, the men's lacrosse or the boys lacrosse at that time definitely had a little more action to it. But I enjoyed them both. And then I guess why women's, so mine is, I just didn't have a desire to do the men's lacrosse, after my personal experience with that. And then I was just falling in love with the women's game. And I knew that there were a lot of opportunities in the women's game. I know when I was at Mercer, I had reached out to, I think it was USC, University of Southern California, because I was watching some of their games and I was like, I would love to commentate on some of their games. So I had reached out to their athletic guy, and he was like, and this was for like the next year. So it was the year after COVID. So I reached out before COVID, and this is just kind of a tangent, actually. I think it's a cool story though. So I had reached out to this guy, and I was like, hey, I would love to commentate on some USC games. And he was like, do you go to school here? I was like, no. And I was just kind of explain everything. He's like, well, if you want to fly out here, you can commentate them with the person we have now. And so like we were discussing like certain dates for the next season, and then COVID hit, and I just didn't end up doing that. But I think I would have called some USC games my senior year, which would have been cool. But anyway, so yeah, I just wasn't really super interested in them, and even now I'm not super interested in men's lacrosse. So I mean, I think the women's game is just more exciting. I also think, which is one reason why I started lacrosse extras and wanted to do journalism for it. There's just so much room for improvement. I mean, especially a few years ago, and even now, there's so much room for improvement. So I just love the women's game. It's the best game. It's the superior game. So
that's fair. It is definitely there's a lot more avenue for like to work in, probably, especially too, because it's
are you a fan of men's lacrosse?
I don't really understand it, but like I said, very in my own world growing up. But I think it's cool. I do think it's interesting. Like if I have, like when I would watch Drexel games, I do think it's cool. I think I think they're different sports. Like you can't really like compare them, I don't think. But
yeah,
I do think it's very interesting to watch. Like I do enjoy watching them. If I have like a free time, like I'm not going to carve out time to watch a men's lacrosse game, but if I have time, like I would.
So I'm curious. I've met people like from your neck of the woods, Maryland, who like they're familiar with lacrosse, but only because like I mean it is super popular down there. But I've talked to some people that are like, yeah, I only watched boys lacrosse in high school because like someone I liked was on the team or something. It was never that situation for you where you would go to games because like your friends were going or like you liked someone on the team.
Um, no, I watched. I didn't even really go to that many, to be honest, because I was always like I was playing. So like
Yeah,
like oftentimes it was like we had an away game, they had a home game, so it was like we
yeah,
didn't really have an opportunity to go to many high school games.
that's
I went
fair.
to a couple Drexel games, but kind of the same thing. I think when you're playing in season, like you don't have as much of an opportunity.
Random question: were you a high school student that liked to go to the football games?
Our football team was really bad. They're better now, but our high school football team was really bad when I was there. So I went to a couple, but not that many because they weren't that fun.
That's fair. That's fair.
We were more of a soccer school. Like our men's soccer team was really fun to watch in high school.
Okay,
So I went to a lot of their games.
nice.
But
Let's see. Best lacrosse memories. We are winding this down. What is your? Do you have one memory that sticks out?
um, yeah, I have a couple, but I maybe I was just talking about this the other day with some girls on the team, so I'll say this one. But um, it was like my junior year, so like Jamie, Courtney, Arden, like all of them were there my senior year, or they were seniors, I was junior, and it was the year, or maybe it was earlier than that actually. Let's see, hold on, I'm trying to remember the COVID year.
COVID year was
Okay,
2020.
yeah, I'm just trying to remember what our records were. Okay, so I think it was my junior year. We were 13-3. We just got our like butt kicked. I think we just I don't know. My history could be super far off here, but like morale was low for some reason. We were 13-3, so it must have been after we must have like lost 2 games in a row or like something, or like we got our butt kicked by Loyola. So it might have just been after the Loyola game. I think it was. We had our butt kicked. Jill got really mad at us. Like it was just a bad, like morale was really low.
I can't see Jill getting really mad. She seems too nice.
Oh, she was livid. It was we just had no answers. Like I've never felt more hopeless in a game in my entire life than playing against Loyola. Um, and she was angry because she also had no answer, and it was just like a very horrible situation. Anyway, I think it was after that game. I could be wrong, so if one of you guys are listening, I'm sorry that my history is wrong. But we gathered in a circle. Jill at the beginning of practice is like, everyone get over here. She rolled the speaker out, and we were like, what is happening? Like literally, what is happening? She's like, everyone flip your sticks over and hold like the butt of it, like you're holding like a microphone. We were like, okay. And she starts blaring like, "This is my fight song. Take back my life song." That's like that like
Rachel
song.
Platten. That song was huge.
Like yeah, like over the speaker as loud as she can. Like we're all standing in a circle, like singing into our sticks, like our hearts out. Like and it was just like such a good morale booster. Like people are crying. Like it was just like such
Oh
a
my gosh.
it was like I was probably one of those people.
Oh my
It
gosh.
like it was just such a good like morale booster, and that season like in general is such an amazing memory for me, like to do it with the people that like it was such an awesome team to do it with, and like that's honestly playing JMU in that championship game's like almost cooler for me than the CAA championship my like 5th year. Like I just love that season so much, so I think for that to catapult it was either the 13-3 season or it was COVID year. I can't remember which one now at this point.
Well, the COVID year
But
got canceled like halfway through, so it wasn't
yeah, but we were still 7-2, so it might have been early COVID year. Either way,
okay.
the 13-3 season is one of my favorite memories as a whole, and that fight song, whatever year that was in, is also a really good memory for me.
That's a good song,
So,
Rachel Platten fight song, and she has another one. She had that hit, and she had another one that wasn't as big, but it was good, and then she disappeared.
yeah.
Um,
So what's yours?
this is kind of well, I got a high school one for you.
Okay.
So, in high school, we played the school named Parkview a few years in a row, and they were always better than us, but they weren't like a lot better. Like we were always in the game for a little bit, and then it would just the wheels would fall off. And so my senior year of high school, we were at Parkview, and they had like a really nice stadium, like all grass, like super nice field, like natural grass. And we were at Parkview, and like, I mean, I was in high school. I was a little dumb and a little weirder than I am now, probably. And just like a little, a little fear. You know how, like, when you're with your friends in high school, you're just a little more fearless,
Hmm.
like when you're, yeah. So anyway, so there was a lightning delay, and they like we had to go into one of their locker rooms, and it wasn't like a. I don't want this to sound weird because like they put us in a locker room where their girls look. So there was a girls lacrosse game on before us. Their Parkview, their high school girls team was before us, and so they put us in this locker room during the lightning delay, where like all the girls had their backpacks and stuff, like where they had
Hmm.
left their stuff, and so we're just in there like listening to music, just doing stupid stuff, um, gossiping. I don't know, just trying to stay loose, and so all the Parkview, all their backpacks were like right, just like and like together. So I had this great idea to take a piece of paper from somewhere, and I put it in like I think it was two or three of the book bags, and I was like, "Call me," and I put my number on the book bag, okay, and I put my Instagram as well. So then we go out for warm ups. We go out for warm ups, and so then like they go into the locker room, and they slowly start to come out the locker room, right? And we're like warming up, and they're like walking on the track right beside the team, and like some of them are like shouting out my name. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It was like because they had seen the notes, okay,
Right.
and so they were like, and then some of them were in the stands, and like during warm-ups, like when we were doing our line drills, like whenever I would catch or throw, they would start cheering. And so like a few of my teammates knew what I had done, and some of them were like, what is going on right
Oh,
now?
funny.
So then we play the game. Like this one dude tried to fight me that game. It was kind of funny. But anyway, so we play the game, and then the game is over, and then some of them had stayed to watch the whole game. And so, oh, actually, let me back up. While we were in the locker room, what was it? Maybe the time is off. Yeah, the timeline is off. Okay, let me back up. So we went into the locker room. I had put the notes on their book bags, and then we went out for warm-ups, and then there was a lightning delay. So we go back into the locker room, and I check my phone, and I have like 15 text messages from like
Oh,
half the
funny.
team. And so I'm like trying to respond to them all, but I don't know who they are. So I'm just like
Right.
responding. So anyway, so then and then one of my friends, Ryan Grady, very cool dude. He was like, "Yo, give me their numbers, blah blah blah."
Oh
And
my god.
so that happened, and my dad was a coach on the team at the time. We told him, and he was like, "Don't you think that's a bit desperate?" I was like, I just turned my back and walked away. I was like, "Dude, have live a little, okay?" So, anyways, so then after the game, some of them are like talking to me, or not like talking. They're like I'm like talking with my dad after the game about the game. They're like walking by, like looking at me, and like so. Anyways, so then like long story short, me and my friend Ryan, we talked to like a few of them for like a few months, and so that was kind of funny. Um, one of them broke my heart, so that was cool.
Aw.
But yeah, so that was just like that's just a funny story.
That
And
is
then
funny.
let's anything at Mercer. So I was at one of Mercer's practices. This is just kind of cool for me, and it was like a torrential downpour the whole time. But I'm at the practice just like hanging out, hanging, just watching, learning. And then at the end of the practice, I'm like standing off by myself waiting for the coach, and they're all like in their huddle. And like they broke it down, and normally like go Bears or like family or something like that, on three. And they broke it down. They were like, David. And I was like, it scared the crap out of me. I was like off in
That's
my
funny.
own world. And it scared the crap out of me. But it was like just a cool moment for me. Um, yeah, I don't know. Those are the two that come to mind. Um,
That's funny.
so yeah, so that was fun. So yeah. Anyways, moving on to our last question. What is the greatest impact lacrosse has had on our lives, Karson?
This is hard for me because I don't think you can really separate like me from lacrosse in this case. Like I don't even know if I could tell you like an impact that it had on me, because I don't think I am me without like my experiences with lacrosse. So it's like I think the greatest impact it's had on me is like it has made me like the person I am today, who is like I'm very proud of. So I think just in general, like I think that I'm like my competitiveness, like my ability to work in a team, like just literally everything that I am as a person, like has come from lacrosse and playing sports in general. And so I'm able obviously to separate like me, who I am now versus the athlete. Like I think that's that's important distinction. But me and lacrosse and the lessons it's taught me are like really impossible to separate. So I think that um, it's hard to give you one, because I really do think that the person I am today is because of lacrosse. So
Hey, that's totally fair, and I mean that's a good answer. So,
thank you.
uh, um, yeah, I would just say, I mean, I'm where I'm at in my life because of lacrosse. Like, I went to Mercer just for the lacrosse team, um, and I started lacrosse extras, and then I moved out to Utah for a job. And one of the reasons I quit was so I could focus more on lacrosse extras. Um, and so yeah, lacrosse is like it's just consumed my life the past few years, and like almost every decision I've made has been made with lacrosse extras in mind. Like, how can I do this or how can I do that? Just to be able to focus on it. So I would just say it's changed my life. I've gotten to meet a lot of really nice people. It's given me a chance to have an impact with my life, which I think is super important. So, so yeah, lacrosse is everything to me. And I have another story for this one's a little sad. Well, it's kind of sad, kind of not. So I went to my last summer of college. I spent some student loan money to go to Hawaii, just because I was in like a really like low place. I just needed like a personal journey. So I went to Hawaii for a month and a half. So I was there for like a good amount of time.
Wow.
And I um I would go to the beach almost every day. And so I went to this beach one day, and there were some people that had come back, and they were like, "There's some seals over there. You can go swim by." Or seals, or I think it was seals or turtles. I can't remember which one. So like, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go swim out there, go check them out." So I started swimming out there, and I was like, "This is just too much." So I was like pretty far offshore. Actually, I don't know. I haven't told this to many people, but I was pretty far offshore, and I was like, it's just not worth it. So I started going back, but then when I turn to go back, I like just feel like I have no energy left. Like I feel like my arms felt like noodles, you know. And so I started going back, and I was like I was having a hard time like staying above the water,
Yeah.
and so I had like waved to shore a few times, like hoping to get someone's attention, but I didn't get anyone's attention, and so and I had, like, swallowed some water, like, 2 different times, and so I was, like, super scared, like, I was, like felt like I was about to drown, you know, and I still had,
Yeah.
a ways to go, and, so anyways, like, I was the most scared I'd ever been in my life, and so anyways, I get back to where I can stand, and I walk back, and I, like, go back to my apartment or my Airbnb. I sit down at the kitchen table just to, like, collect myself, and the first thing I thought of was lacrosse extras. Like, that was literally the first thing I thought of, and I was like, from that point on, I was like, "I know this is the most important thing to me in my life, so I'm gonna just give it everything I have." So, I don't know, lacrosse, like, I just wanna be where I am without lacrosse, and, like, I've done lacrosse extras for 3 years now, haven't made a single dime, and my parents are like, "Oh, you need to go do something that makes money." I'm like, "Nope, it's all good." Um, and I mean, so lacrosse is just everything to me. Lacrosse extras is my baby. So yeah, lacrosse, it's consumed my life. So that's my answer.
Good. Well, I feel like that's good. I feel like people now know, like they have a little bit of our background.
For sure. Just to let them get to know us more. Our subscribers are growing, which is great. I think we're above I think it's 150 now between Apple and Spotify. I can't remember the exact number.
Yay.
So it's slowly growing. So thank you for all of the subscribers. If you ever have any ideas for shows, hit us up, either me or Carson or Lacrosse Extras Instagram. We would love to hear them.
Yeah, especially in the off season.
Yeah. We can talk about anything in the off season. We can
let us know.
Is there a lacrosse beef you want us to talk about? Is there like you want us to talk about 2010 Maryland or like 2007 Northwestern? Like we can do anything. So, anyways, hopefully people find this episode interesting. That is episode 29 of The Player and the Journalist.
Woo!